bitches go.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego Unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. PBC discusses what it would take for Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. Says Terence Crawford and his team, Top Rank, they got to get his brand up to make a mega fight. We unpack. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Time is almost up. UFC 246. Purchase the pay-per-view from yours truly. The link in the description. There's different deals where you can get the fight UFC 246 plus a year subscription, or just subscribe to ESPN Plus. Buy the ESPN Plus pay-per-view using me. Link in the description. All my videos in the description box. Conor McGregor versus Dono Cowboy Cerrone, and it definitely helps the channel. A lot of you guys have already used the link, so I appreciate those people who have used the link and supported the channel in such a phenomenal way. Now let's talk about Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. You know, a lot of people are talking about it and they want to see it, and I'm going to give more of my thoughts. But the PBC podcast, they had Tim Smith, who is one of Al Heyman's right-hand men, and he was asked about Wilder Fury collaborating and PBC working together with ESPN beyond a Fury Wilder 2 fight. And then he was asked about Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, and let's react. We unpacked to what he had to say, and then I'll unpack it.
And it said it was a boxing bronze medal. It wasn't for figure skating.
Yeah, I always tell people the two most important things are, one, to win, and two, to entertain, and I think he does both pretty proficiently.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that, Michael.
Yeah, this is a Fox Sports ESPN pay-per-view. Do you think this opens the door for more collaborations in the future?
I think it would have to be something really special, and you have to realize that that this wasn't going to be a collaboration until it was a collaboration. I think anything is possible for the right fight, and I think a lot's going to depend on how this one actually turns out. If it turns out to be very wildly successful at the box office and at pay-per-view, then the groundwork's been laid for future collaborations. So and I think if all the people that are working on this, if they can all be in sync and all get together and it's a smooth operation, then you've opened the door for something special. So
one fight that I know a lot of people want to see is Errol Spence Jr. against Terence Crawford. There was some back and forth on Twitter between the two. What did you make of all that, and what do you think about that matchup and the possibility of it actually happening going forward?
I really don't, and Kenneth can tell you because he gets all of my when I'm reading Twitter late at night, he gets all of the stuff that he's seen 6 hours before. And I go, can you believe this? I really don't have time to read a lot of Twitter stuff. And I think I was a day late on that entire thing. But you know what? I didn't make very much of it because you can't make a fight on Twitter. You can't, that's not the way you make a fight. And, the people that represent both Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, they know how to make a fight. So when the time comes for that fight to get made, guess what? The adults in the room will step up and they'll make the fight. That's basically what it comes down to. And, there's different, each side has a different, view of where they are in this stream of, wanting or needing this fight. For Errol Spence, I think, he wants to go through the gauntlet of what is in front of him, on the PBC side. And why wouldn't he? He's got Manny Pacquiao, who has a title. That's a title, that's another title unification fight, and then he's got, great matchups with former champions, like Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, And, he's got a great rematch with Errol Spence. So, I think both those guys are at different stages of where they are. I know everybody wants to see it because they're both very skilled. I'm still not sure of how Terence Crawford would fare at the very top of the, at the welterweight division. But that's something that he's going to have to make his way there. And I see that his promoter has signed Josh Taylor, and maybe they can make that fight at 147 pounds. And he can get some good competition, and then sort of take some time to build his name up and make himself into a star. That's what we're trying to do with Errol Spence. We're trying to make Errol Spence a star, and he's fought twice on pay-per-view last year, and he's building his stardom, and he's been a very nice attraction at the gate. And I think Terence Crawford needs to get himself to that position, or the people around him need to get him to that position, and they need to explain to him all the things that go into getting into that position, and they need to go out and start working on that kind of thing, and getting him to the stardom that he needs, that sort of matches his talents. And, one thing I think he needs to do is to, have them take a page from what they did with Tyson Fury. They set out, they had a plan. They set out to do all they could to make Tyson Fury into a star, so that when he got back into the ring with Wilder, that would be an attraction. So, his promoters need to take a page from Tyson Fury and apply it to Errol Spence. I mean, not Errol Spence, to Terence Crawford. Find ways to make Terence Crawford a star the way that they tried to make Tyson Fury a star.
Now, getting back to Errol first.
We Unpacked, coming to you live. My turn. Wow, new media strikes again. Once again. It's funny how I tell you guys stuff on my channel. People think I just get on here and bump my gums. And then you hear someone directly connected to me. I do my own thing. I'll go to anybody's fight. Anybody has a good fight. If it's good for boxing, I'll try to cover it for you guys. I don't have a side, so to speak. So I'm employed. I get my checks say Google at the end of the month. But it's funny that, and ironic that exactly what I said, Tim Smith, Al Heyman's right-hand man, is basically saying and basically telling people. He says Terence Crawford, him and his team, they have to find ways to push him over the edge in terms of stardom. Make him a star. Use the same formula, the star build formula that they used or try to use to help Tyson Fury. And this is the truth. I told you, Top Rank is a very good company, but when it comes to marketing American talent, especially Black American talent, I think that's the biggest challenge. If you're Mexican, then they'll find a spot for you to go, but it's their Black fighter, Black American talent, where I still see how how come Terence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson don't fight on every card together? You look at HBO, what they did with Gennady Golovkin and Roman Chocolatito. They almost made it kind of like a package deal where fans of Chocolatito, I think he was working with Tom Loeffler, and so was Triple G, so it became almost like a package deal. And they both had similar styles, like action styles, so it almost became a package deal. Terence Crawford is actually really cool with Shakur Stevenson, and they're both Black American skilled fighters. It seems like you would want to put them on the same card, but they don't really do that. You had Shakur Stevenson, who fought against Joet Gonzalez, who is based out of LA. They put it in Reno. I covered the fight because I thought it was a good fight, and it was a good challenge. There was a backstory. It was for a title. So I went and covered it for you guys. Got credentialed and covered it. And I thought the location was the only kind of abnormal thing. Smaller casinos in Las Vegas, like Hard Rock or somewhere like that, seemed like good options for that. LA seemed like a better option, but they put in Reno. And when I went to it, there weren't as many people as you would expect. I think there were like 2,000 people that went, because Reno, it's not Vegas. People, you got to look at Vegas as just an attraction and people know about it. A lot of people, Reno is a big little town. A lot of people don't know what to expect in Reno. Some of the parts look a little worn down and things like that. Nonetheless, I thought it was a weird location. I don't know how they ended up on Reno. Thought it was kind of weird for that fight. I think StubHub would have been a great location for that fight. Newark, New Jersey, where Shakur is from, would have been a great location. Vegas, at one of the smaller casinos, would have been a great location. And when you look at Tyson Fury, he was fighting arguably lesser fights, and he's not even from here. And ESPN Plus and ESPN or whatever was putting Tyson Fury as the main event versus unheralded, unknown American fighters, people who like literally had never fought in America or only fought in America once. Otto Weilin fought in America once, and Tom Schwartz from Germany had never fought in America. And neither of them had really gone into 10, 12 round territory, or if they did, it hadn't been several times. So inexperienced guys, unknown commodities, unheralded guys, yet and still both of those Tyson Fury fights were where? In Las Vegas. And they tried their best to try to make it look like big, huge attractions. But when it comes to Shakur Stevenson, when it comes to Terence Crawford, it's like almost understood. They just feel like these fights aren't big, so they just put it whatever. You know, look at, I remember Terence Crawford. This is literally what happened with Terence Crawford's fight. When he was about to fight Jeff Horn, they announced it and they said it was going to happen in New York. Then they said it was going to happen in Vegas, and people were waiting. It still hadn't been announced. It was just this long, drawn out process. And then finally, I think it was Terence Crawford allegedly had a hand injury that we've never seen or heard about since. You know, they said Crawford pulled out with the injury or something. You know, Jeff Horn was calling him a princess, him and his team. And then they finally rescheduled it for Vegas. But the promotion clearly hasn't been the same. I think it's understood by most folks in boxing that Terence Crawford is skilled, but he's not marketed the same way. Look at what Tim Smith said. Tyson Fury, they put him on the fast track to stardom. They said, we're going to build him up, and they've had Terence Crawford for a lot longer. Crawford signed with Top Rank in 2011. Tyson Fury signed, if I'm not mistaken, last year. And he was in negotiations already to fight Wilder. They stalled that out to try to build him, which is really allow him time to grow and recover from being knocked out in the 12th round and knocked down and hurt by a vicious puncher. That's the real reason I believe they did that. And ultimately, they gave him 2 tune-up fights to build him up, and now he's about to fight Wilder. But they gave him the red carpet treatment. It's funny how you have the complexion for the protection, you get the red carpet treatment. Tyson Fury has since had 2 fights in Vegas, not in these obscure places. And their commentary, guys like Tim Bradley, oh man, this guy. Tim Bradley said, and I think it was the Tom Schwartz fight, Tyson Fury switched against the unknown guy. Tim Bradley, who sparred with Terence Crawford, compared him to Terence Crawford. He said Tyson Fury is like the heavyweight Terence Crawford, which I thought was disrespectful, because you have Tyson Fury who's switching stances, which a lot of fighters do, but to do it as good as Terence Crawford, that is different. There's only a few fighters who are doing it flawlessly, you know, and Terence Crawford does it with elite level names, the people that he's fought, like anybody. He does it all the time. He does it in like every fight, whether you're a gold medalist like Gamboa or Felix Diaz, a rugged guy like Deary Jean or Hammer and Hank Lundy. It don't matter. Tall, small, he's doing the same thing and filling out. Mean Machine, a puncher, 2-time Olympian. he figures it out and does that. But Tyson Fury didn't do that with Wilder. He did it specifically against a guy who most people thought was more of a scrub and no one really heard of, in Tom Schwartz. But that's kind of what PBC is saying, and I've been telling you that. They found somehow, some way to market Tyson Fury. Oh, what a quinky-dink. The guy with the complexion for the protection. He gets marketed. He gets the red carpet treatment. He gets the praise and commentary. Bob Arum has said stuff like Tyson Fury reminds me of Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, guys he used to promote, who are clear legends, black guys too, you know? And they're comparing Tyson Fury, a Caucasian fighter, gypsy, to all these legendary people. So trying to help his brand and help him grow. Then he got into the wrestling after the cut with Otto Violin, WrestleMania, that introduced him to a different artist where people might know his name a little bit. And he wrote an autobiography. And we haven't really seen these types of endeavors from Terence Crawford and with the help of Top Rank or ESPN. So Errol Spence, he's getting treated well. He's getting opportunity after opportunity. What more would you want if you were Errol Spence in 2019? Well, obviously, except for the accident, that's the only downside. But I'm talking about career-wise, actual career stuff. They had you fight where the Lakers play, where LeBron James is playing at the Staples Center. You had a big unification with Sean Porter that you see on the screen. It was a great crowd, 16,000 plus people. It was on Fox pay-per-view. Fox did a great job backing it up and promoting it, shoulder programming, the weigh-in, everything. I went to that fight and they had it in a very nice hotel, and everything was outstanding. The hotel we were in for the weigh-in, the setup, the thing started on time. I've been to a lot of fights where they say get here at one time and it really don't start till 2-3 hours later, whatever. Everything was punctual. Everything was pretty smooth on that. And it was in a beautiful hotel in LA, this particular fight you see on the screen. He had a hometown fight, 2 in a row, I think it was. But in 2019, he had a Mikey Garcia fight, respected guy, and he got to fight him in Arlington, which is 25-30 minutes away from where he's from in Dallas. He's getting treated like the star that he is. I can't say that for ESPN. I can't say that Terence Crawford, ESPN. So that's kind of what Tim Smith and PBC is saying. Work your magic. Make him a star. Make this attraction. Mikey Garcia said it. I said it before everybody. Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford is a good fight. Fans want to see it. But the same fans, old media, they are not putting precedence on Eddie Hearn to work with Frank Warren. You never hear nobody even talk about Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. Dillian White versus Daniel Dubois. It's almost understood that Eddie Hearn don't really work with Frank Warren, when Billy Joe Saunders was with Frank Warren still, and the other fighters like Golovkin were with Eddie Hearn and Caleb Smith. It was just almost understood that these two entities aren't going to work with each other. But when it comes to this particular fight, and we know why, it's an agenda, people have to see it. It's a good fight. Errol Spence is a top dog. Crawford's a top dog. I don't know who would win. They both won it. They both are skilled. Both of them at their best. They're beasts. Terence Crawford's a beast. Errol Spence is a beast. They've been in it for a minute, period. But this is politics. This is the business. This is, at the end of the day, Terence Crawford, he's not aligned with PBC. And see, people are it's so frustrating, man, because I've been in the boxing game for years and I've been doing my thing, and I documented and talked about all of these situations. And when it finally explodes on the scene, or it's so in your face and flagrant to the point where you can't deny it anymore, and you have no choice but to acknowledge the reality, then all of a sudden people are like, oh man, the sides of the street and stuff. I told you, I seen all this coming. I've told you everything. Politics were going to probably prolong this fight. You know, now everybody wants to act brand new, like they couldn't see this coming. I seen this coming a mile away. Terence Crawford has less people on his side of the fence, on his side of the street. So he was going to run out of viable, bankable options and get frustrated a lot quicker than this man you see on the screen, which is what we've seen on Twitter with, you know, Bernie and the Instagram rant, Terence Crawford's buddy with Terence Crawford on Twitter, because he's already ran through what he could and he's hungry. He's a competitor. So I'm not mad at him. I'm not blaming him. But one thing I feel Crawford should be blaming his team for not building somebody or, you know, getting this type of situation resolved. This is business. At the end of the day, nobody's business to help your business. That's just what it is. You know, a lot of people, they're not going to be as blunt as me, but I've been in the game, I've earned my stripes, etc. And this is just me as a person. At the end of the day, I'm not here to sugarcoat it. The bottom line is, in a perfect world, yes, all the perfect fights that we want to see should happen and readily be available. So please miss me with this whole noble, you know, perfect world scenario that doesn't exist in boxing. Cold wars, these little people in suits battling, this has been going on. So don't play me. We've seen it with Mayweather, Pacquiao. We've seen it with other fights. We still see it to this day outside of Crawford and Spence. Everybody want to act brand new, like this is some new stuff that just happened 2019, 2020. No, this is not. We haven't seen, like I said, Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. They don't even mention that fight. Dillian White versus Daniel Dubois. These are all UK guys. And just because they have different promoters and they're aligned with different networks, it's just assumed that they're not going to fight each other. You know? So why would you expect different from this scenario? PBC has Errol Spence and they're building him as a star, which is exactly what I told you. And they have the people to do it. They could do a Sean Porter rematch. And in my opinion, Errol Spence, Sean Porter 2 would be bigger than any fight that Terence Crawford can have, unless he works with someone other than who Top Rank has. I can't think of one Terence Crawford option or a rematch he could do that would be bigger than Errol Spence, Sean Porter rematch. Like, he can't fight Benavidez 2 and it's as big as Errol Spence, Sean Porter, you know, because of how the fights played out and the opponent and stuff. It's just the reality. So Errol Spence is in a plush spot. As long as he heals from his accident, comes back, and he's the same guy, he's in a great spot because he's where the talent is. There's a lot of talent in his talent pool. He could fight Keith Thurman. I've been wanting to see that for years, right? He could get the Pacquiao fight. A lot of people are thinking he might get Pacquiao. He could fight him. That's a great fight. You see, he has, say it with me, options. Options are a beautiful thing. I'd rather have more options than less options. Put it that way. Like, look at, if you ever been to a restaurant and they only have like 4 items to choose from, you might not be in the mood for one of those 4 things. But if you go to a restaurant and they have a lot of different foods that look good, then, you know, you have more items to choose from. And like I said, I seen this coming a mile away. Terence Crawford is a beast. He's a hell of a fighter. You could say I'm promoting the stalling of boxing. Get out of here with that. You know, at the end of the day, this is all politics. And Crawford, being a smart man and having a team around him, Bo Mack and Top Rank and, you know, the people he's aligned with him, he had to have seen this coming. There's no way he couldn't have seen this coming. Listen, if Terence Crawford didn't see this coming, then why were people, when I was making videos, oh, Terence Crawford re-signed, he did an extension with Top Rank. Why were people in the comments back then? This was before, several fights ago, you know, maybe even before he moved to welterweight or right after he got to welterweight. People were like, why'd he do that? He shouldn't have signed. He should explore his option. So people had the concerns then, right? There was a reason. And now we're seeing what that reason was, and we're seeing it all unfold. PBC's not wrong. They're not wrong to build their fighter, and they have a lot of kids on the playground. They can make great fights. It's not like Errol Spence is just bullying people over there. There's good fights for him. Danny Garcia, that's not a give me fight. I don't know what you guys see in Danny Garcia. Y'all don't give Danny Garcia his props. That's not a give me fight. Danny Garcia, his biggest weapons is experience. He has a hell of a chin, and his timing with power. You know, you can't just run through Danny Garcia. Ain't nobody ran through Danny Garcia. Not even people like Mauricio Herrera or Peterson, who some people think beat him. I think Herrera beat him. You know, they didn't just run through him like it was nothing, no matter who he fought. So you can't just overlook anybody. So that's a big fight. Danny Garcia has been branded for years with his dad. His dad is a known celebrity. Mean Machine and his team, nobody, you know, people aren't really knowing who he is like that. That's just the reality of it. So I can understand the frustration from Crawford as a competitor and, you know, the diehard fans who just don't care about politics. But I'm a realist. I'm not here to live in this fabricated, fake, phony matrix world. I'm telling you what it is and what it's been. And I seen this coming a mile away. That's why you have to make the right decisions and explore certain possibilities, or just be content. You make your bed, you gotta lie in it. That's what we're dealing with here. Crawford's a beast, and he ran out of people quicker because he had less people on his side that he could tackle. It's that simple. And again, the reason I said PBC's not doing anything wrong is because Top Rank made a whole career doing this. Period. When they had top 40 guys and 47 guys, they weren't matching them with PBC guys. It's just the reality of what we've seen. I lived it. I had a channel. I was covering fights. Brandon Rios was not fighting Adrian Broner, who was with PBC, and Rios was with Top Rank. Jesse Vargas was fighting Top Rank guys. Pacquiao, Bradley, whoever, you know. Tim Bradley, he did he's begging. He did all that rant. He was fighting Top Rank guys. He was fighting Top Rank guys or guys with smaller promoters like Diego Chavez, who Top Rank might not have had, but he's from Argentina and he has a smaller local promoter, so the deal could get made. He wasn't fighting big brand. You know how much I would have loved to see Adrian Broner versus Tim Bradley, Amir Khan when he was with Al Heyman versus Tim Bradley. We didn't get to see none of those fights. We didn't get to see Danny Garcia, Pacquiao, or Keith Thurman versus Pacquiao back when Pacquiao was with Top Rank. So what's the difference? Why are people acting all shocked now that PBC is doing their own thing? The tables turn. They got people, and I've said this before. This is literally one of the first points I said. You can't be mad at anybody else but the Crawford team and the way he's been moved and promoted. They're not putting the same promotion that they're putting into Tyson Fury. And the thing is, you got to make these fights an attraction, because they don't have to work with you at all, or they could work with you last and you could just figure it out with your fighter, because in business, nobody owes nothing to you like that. It would be great if they worked together to make all the fights we want to see, but it's not realistic. You know, even on a street level, you could be two drug dealers. If you're a drug dealer in Chicago and there's another drug dealer that don't fuck with you and ain't related or connected to you, and you sell dope and he sell dope, and y'all not friends, y'all are competitors. He's not out there looking to make sure your shipments come through and make sure your product come back, and, you know, to warn you that cops are coming, and, you know, be on the lookout. They might try to raid you because they came to my stash house and trap house, and it's not how it works. Ain't nobody gonna do that. That's just business in general, whether it's a street level business or if it's a professional business. Ain't nobody there to help you. So you got to make it make sense. Mayweather and Pacquiao, it happened finally after like 6 years, because the money was they'd be foolish to not have made that money together, you know. But Terence Crawford and Errol Spence is a great fight skillfully, but that's what PBC is saying. Crawford get his brand up to the point where you're well branded and stuff like that, beyond just it being a good fight for hardcore boxing fans. They're saying, hey, if we're gonna work with you, let's make it, you make Crawford the biggest you can make him. We already making Errol Spence and our guys the biggest we can make them, and putting in them opportunities. Then we'll fight, because then now it makes sense, because it'll be for all the marbles and stuff. And I told you that's what PBC's doing. Errol Spence, another thing is the A side, B side. When this is said and done, the way it's looking, if Errol Spence keeps winning, they're making it clear and making full well, they're making sure that PBC is the A side in the negotiations, and Top Rank would have to know that. If Errol Spence beats Pacquiao, unifies the third belt, how can Terence Crawford possibly be the A side? Because he's skilled? I mean, come on, that's not even, if you look at the A side thing, it don't even have to do with skill, because you could argue that Demetrius Andrade has equal skill or greater skill than Canelo, but Canelo's the A side, you know? So we already know that like A side could be a popularity contest and stats and figures and numbers. So again, PBC is making it hard to eat for Top Rank, and obviously Top Rank don't like it, and fans who want to support it, you know, so they're masking this on some, you know, oh, do what's right for boxing. But how many times are different promoters not doing what's right for boxing, i.e. Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois? I want to see that. Make that fight right now. We're not even hearing nothing like that. Make Usyk versus Daniel Dubois. We're not hearing nothing like that. You know, so this is it. That's what it is. Wilder Fury, as Tim Smith mentioned, that wasn't even supposed to be a joint ESPN and Fox PBC deal. It became one because Tyson Fury ducked Wilder from the immediate rematch and fled to ESPN, and they still want the rematch, and they still want, you know, to clarify that. Top Rank in 2019 calendar year, they had one fight over 1 million views. All the fans and the built-in subscribers that ESPN has, they only have one that did 1.65. Errol Spence has done better attendances. Like, he did 50,000, 16,000+. He did 15,000 with Ocampo. He's just overall being promoted better. It's just what it is. And he has more options. That's what it is. You could say whatever, that's the true fact. Crawford is a dog. He's a beast. I don't know who will win. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about pure promotion and what it's going to take to get this fight over the line. So they're saying that make him a star. Do the same things you've done to Tyson Fury. Make him bigger and bigger and bigger. And then make the fight happen for all the marbles. That's what it is. It's the power struggle. I've said this from the beginning. I never doubted Terence Crawford. I never doubted Errol Spence. I think if it was just some street stuff, they will meet at the park and fight. But this is deeper than that. You have people involved and networks involved, and now it's jockeying for position, power struggle. You know, what person gonna get this lion's share? What network's in charge? It's the politics. And fortunately for Errol Spence, on his side, he got more leverage. Crawford's side doesn't in this equation. Simple as. No more, no less. So this is what this all boils down to. And I think this, if ESPN and Top Rank really want it, they got to find ways and get creative. You know, put Crawford in wrestling, or, you know, Rap City, the basement, or whatever they feel would shoot his brand up. You know, have him as a Grammy presenter or something. You know, I don't know. It's not my job. I'm not getting paid to think about how to, you know, make someone pop. I will. If anybody wants to pay me, you know, I can use my channel. But all that type of stuff costs. It's not my job to think about how to brand someone. I could think of a million ways to brand fighters. Crawford is a brand because he's dope. You know, he's a good dude. He's a competitive dude. People would like him. But they got to get him. They just look at what I'm saying, people. Top Rank, Bob Arum, Team Crawford, they got Amir Khan as a Crawford pay-per-view. Errol Spence, his team got him Mikey Garcia for pay-per-view, and then a Sean Porter unification for a pay-per-view. Champion Sean Porter. And they were both good fights, or at least good performances from Errol Spence. Sean Porter, Errol Spence was a good fight. The Mikey fight was one-sided, but it was a definite good performance by Errol Spence. So that's what it boils down to. And this is the predicament that Crawford's in based on who he's aligned himself with. No more, no less. It's, you know, you stayed on this side. You had to see this coming. I've said it time and time again. And now we're getting confirmation from people like Tim Smith. This is the reality. They're saying get him bigger. Like, let's give us a reason to want to just jump in and make that fight. I don't think it's about, oh, we're afraid Errol will lose and all this shit. It's just you got to make it financially viable, because why? Okay. Errol Spence, just correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. As good as Terence Crawford is, if Errol Spence beat Pacquiao, he's going to get more recognition. Pacquiao just beat Keith Thurman and bloodied him up and consolidated titles. It's a bigger fight. Not, hey, I personally want to see this fight way more. I'm talking about what's big. Because when it comes to big fights, then you start getting the opinions of casual fans. Casuals all know who Pacquiao is. You know, you don't have to be a diehard fan to know that. So off of that, it just becomes a big fight. And Pacquiao is a respected champion for multiple decades. They were doing the decade of the year awards. They weren't saying Errol Spence and Terence Crawford because that wasn't their era. But people like Ward, Floyd Mayweather, and Pacquiao were probably like the top names that I seen people mentioning for fighters of the decade, right? Pacquiao still fighting. He's coming off of good performances with Broner, where he was sick. Good performances with Keith Thurman, where he knocked him down and clearly won and consolidated to become the WBA super champion. So guess what? It's a bigger fight. It's just what it is, because he's been promoted throughout his career, even by Top Rank. And when Top Rank had Pacquiao, trust me, they promoted him a lot better than what they're doing with Terence Crawford. Simple. So they got to get creative to make Terence Crawford make the brand match the skill. You know, the skill is the highest of levels. They got to find way. Put him on the Joe Rogan show again. You know, anything. These different types. Again, this is not my job to figure out this. But if somebody wants to pay me and you want to have me like make flashcards on how to connect with black audiences, I'll do that, but it's going to cost. I ain't doing it for free. So, you know, I think what the PBC is saying is fair. No matter who wants to see the fight, there's a lot of fights I want to see. I wanted to see Amir Khan, Kell Brook. Why ain't that happen? They're both with Eddie Hearn. You know, why Daniel Dubois is not fighting none of the Eddie Hearn guys? Usyk, AJ, Dillian White, Philip Ergovic. You know, this is just the nature of the sport. We Unpacked. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.